your natural instinctive behavior, or what Daniel Kahneman used to call when he was alive, level one behavior, um, is a combination of your genetics, so that's the DNA, and your early life experiences.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. We'll be excited to have Hugh Massie. Hugh, how are you doing today?
Oh, fantastic, Todd. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the show. A little bit about Hugh, and then I'll let you give your full background. But Hugh is the executive chairman and founder of DNA Behavior International, the behavioral money insights company. So, Hugh, with that said, give our listeners a bit more about your background, like what that company actually does, and then we'll dive in.
So DNA Behavior is a behavioral data analytics company, and we have built our own uh, technology systems and set of underlying algorithms to understand how every person behaves, not only in terms of their talents, their strengths, their struggles, and growing as a human being, if you want to call it that, whether it's as a man, woman, leader, um, careers, what job you should be in. We have all that side of it, but also we're very focused on understanding how people deal with money because money is pretty central to all of our lives. It's something that, in one way or another, everybody's talking about all the time, far more than they realize. It's also, money is being processed in one's sleep. And I believe money is the biggest causer of stress
Mm.
in
Yeah.
life, which affects your health and happiness. So that's a fair bit there for people to unpack. But probably what's interesting is how did I get there? Because I'm not your behavioral PhD industrial psychologist person. I am actually, I started life as a CPA. That's American terms. In Australia, I was what you call a chartered accountant. I was a tax specialist for most of the time. On the side, I was always doing some kind of investment deal of some sort because I was always fascinated, with it and making investments and dealings. And in fact, a lot of it was in real estate. So, I personally find real estate investing more comfortable mentally than I do the stock market, believe it or not.
Mm.
Um, but when I finished my CPA career after 10 years, I set up a wealth management family office business in Australia. And I had a goal to help people or provide people with a hyper personalized experience. What I wanted to do was put a tailor-made suit on every person. And I didn't know what that meant really, but that's what I was going to go and do in terms of giving them a unique experience. And then one day a friend asked me, Hugh, what are you really passionate about? And I said, just from the sprouted out of my mouth, I want to help people all over the world become financially self-empowered. And it took me a little while to process that because I've never said anything like that before, but I was on a little bit of a personal discovery journey for a few years of, who am I? What am I doing? How do things work? What's going to work for me? And I had actually been writing a lot about human behavior and money in my day journal for quite a few years.
Mm.
And then this sprouts out, and I realize when I connect the dots, yeah, I need to do something that addresses behavior and money. And really at that time, and we're talking 2000, 2001 at that time, the subject of behavioral economics wasn't it was there, but it wasn't quite there. And
Yeah.
2 years later, Daniel Kahneman wins the Nobel Prize basically for this. And here I am dealing with this in a wealth management business in Australia, and I've just developed a system to measure how everybody behaves with not only their talents, but also with money.
Hmm.
And, I went and deployed our system on every client. That was successful. And I decided after we validated the system in America, at some universities, scientifically validated the psychometrics, I would stay here, live here, and make this my day job. So and then you can just reel forward all those years, and now I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I love it. What's behind the name DNA behavior? What's the DNA part about it?
So what my theory was, which was part of, it was underneath the wanting to help people become financially self-empowered. What I was seeing with the clients was that when they were under pressure, usually caused by money, they reverted back to a natural instinctive behavior. And that's what I wanted to understand, because if I could understand where people were going to go to instinctively,
Yeah.
one, I could deal with their emotions under pressure to not make stupid decisions or make better decisions, but two, also help them in their overall life in doing something constructive that is a fit for their talents. And a lot of people, while I was never a career advisor, a lot of people of my clients, wealth management, were coming to me for mentoring, even chairman of companies. What do I do next? How do I
Hmm.
manage this or that? How do I run this business? How do I even set myself up with these? I did stuff with real estate partnership type stuff. How do I set myself up with it? So I was always more than just what are the numbers on the page. And, you know, so the behavior allowed me to do it. But the key thing is when I met an industrial psychologist who I then hired into our business, in the wealth management business, she said, Hugh, what you're talking about is people's natural hardwired behavior. And then when I did more research on it, and this research has evolved, so I'm not the only one who would say this, but your natural instinctive behavior, or what Daniel Kahneman used to call when he was alive, level one behavior, um, is a combination of your genetics, so that's the DNA, and your early life experiences.
Yeah.
So it's not all genetics, it's probably 25% genetics and 75% the life experiences you have between conception and 3 years old and a little bit after 3 years old.
Yeah. I gotta imagine like what you crafted as a young child, what you heard, saw, and then also how you perceived it, right?
Right.
Definitely creates a that massive amount of that. And it'd be interesting to see, the same child growing up in different environments and seeing how they would react. Of course, we can't have that because you can't have two of the same people in the same spot, but it'd be really interesting to see how that impacts, their future and where they're at with their money mindset. How do you, you grow up obviously in your household, 0 to 18, and then you go off to, you know, college or wherever next. But how do you start to create a new identity, crafting that new identity? Like, where do people begin?
Yeah, I think look, that's a really interesting question, and I think that, and it's probably straight to the point, is I believe, and I do a lot of work with identity. So as a person, not identity theft or anything like
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
more identity as a person. That because that's what I think all this centers on, is the more that you understand that natural hardwired behavior and who you are, in a sense, as your 3-year-old, 7-year-old self, and what was made there, and what the talents are, the way that you interact those propensities, and understand that and say, okay, I've got a natural set of strengths with that, and then the flip side of the strengths being overused, if you want to call it that, is struggle. So let's say that strength is being very detailed and information orientated and careful in making decisions. The flip side, if you overdo that, is that you don't take opportunities, you're too picky, things get awkward, you can get stubborn, right? So knowing knowing that, right? there's a lot of dimensions of that, but it one in different areas, how you innovate, take risks, how you communicate. But once you know
Mm.
that, then you can learn, okay, how am I going to flex those behaviors or adapt those behaviors for the different settings? And that's really about, what learned behaviors should I develop? What emotional intelligence am I going to bring to the table? Like I'm an entrepreneur, and naturally coming with that is I'm impatient, right?
Yeah.
I'm very logical, fast paced, going to make quick decisions, spur of the moment, and I'm impatient. But I've learned that time tells you a lot of things, and that is in with every interaction relationship. Give it some time, and the right answer will appear. Yes, you got to jump in and make a decision, but time tells you a lot of things. Particularly, and I think that we've all got ourselves into disputes and things like that. You can have an instinct up front. This is a problem, but maybe be patient with it, and or you're wanting to build real estate partnership deals. Okay, you're going to lose some deals along the way, but maybe there are good reasons why you do lose them, right? And you've been saved. But patience, I think, is important in right dosages, for example. So learning how to manage yourself, your emotions. I've just read a book about the 48 laws of power. Emotions, managing your emotions is the number one law, right?
Mm.
Patience is the number two law. So just learning that, and then in the context of yourself, is very important for everyday life, business, relationships, managing your children. It's all the same. It's all the same things. And so that's how I think you get to understanding that, and then looking at, if you take yourself at you, those natural hardwired behaviors, and then you look at what have you learned along the way? What have been the good things? What have been the bad things? And in a way, eradicate the things that don't work or lead to the wrong outcomes,
Yeah.
and work on the things that are positive. And there's usually a pattern, and that's what I've seen with people that when I ask them the questions of, you know, um, what they were doing when they were younger that worked really well, and now what are you doing as an adult that works really well through the varying segments of your life? There's a pattern. It may not be the same thing, but there's a pattern in the way they were operating. It's
Mm.
to get in touch with that. And then in wealth creation, if you ask someone what were the 3 to 5 best decisions you've made, there is a common, and how do they get made? There's a common pattern. And the opposite, when you've lost, what did you do? Right? There's a pattern in that.
Yeah, definitely.
And 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 all I'm doing with the DNA behavior systems is, by people completing our questionnaire, and now we can do it digitally with AI, is understanding what that natural pattern is, and then how do you work with it, or how do you adapt it to different settings or situations.
You in your bio, you mentioned AI. How's AI? And you just mentioned it now, so I got to ask that question because
Yeah.
that's on everybody's mind, right? How's AI like? And that's what everybody. And quite frankly, like I want to learn more about it too. Uh, so how does it like? How has it changed your business, or what? How do you use it? How do you implement it?
Yeah, so AI is a fundamental uh, game changer for our business. I think it's leading to some exponential growth. And here's why. Our business has always been that a person, whether they're a team person or a client, has to complete an assessment. Bef They have to spend 10 to 12 minutes actively completing it.
Yeah.
That can become a friction point. Let's
Hmm.
say that
Sure.
you, in your
Absolutely.
business, wanted to profile or assess every investor that was going to go into your deal, so that you knew from a suitability point of view, how are they a fit, right?
Yeah.
And how are you going to manage them? You got to get them to do it. And people might say, well, I don't want to do that,
Yeah.
right? Um, and you say, well, you don't get into the deal. Okay, there's a friction. Either way, there's a friction. With AI, because of the work we've done over 24 years now, nearly 25 years at validating systems, the algorithms we've built, we've effectively reverse engineered our system and said, if we ask this one question, a couple of questions up front, like, your name and where do you work now? So we basically can identify you.
Yep.
We can then go and send prompts out
Yeah.
to public data sources,
Yeah.
and that brings back the data that we need to answer our
It's
questionnaire.
it's amazing.
So now we can do mass scale assessment
Yeah.
without any friction.
You don't have to ask those questions a lot of times, especially the more public the person is.
Right. So even last year, to test it, because we had a theory about leadership that there were six behaviors that, if they're strong, they influence company profitability. Well, we proved that to be correct. That's why I say behavior makes money.
Yeah.
We went and got the names via AI of every S&P 500 company leader, because they're all in public documents. Ran the AI-driven digital scan over those names and those people, because we know where they work, and linked it to the company's profits
Yeah.
and produce a rating. Well, that's pretty powerful information. And then you distill that down to what are the founder-led companies, and you can see they're making 20 times the profits that a hired gun-led company is making, for example, because if they've got the right mix of behaviors in the leadership team. So it's very powerful for seeing, really cutting through to the truth.
Yeah.
If there's a leadership change, that's going to affect the company. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to give you an early warning sign of that. But AI has enabled us to do that. And now, while all of that's been my dream, all the way along was to completely scale human behavioral understanding.
Yep.
I couldn't, because technology wasn't there to make it easy for me to do it.
Now it's
But it is
now it's
now.
getting there. Yeah, or it's
Yeah.
there. It's there. It's only going to improve now.
And
It,
then,
it's
and then, to round off the story, as someone asked me this morning, he said, "Well, okay, you've got all this information. What do you do with it? How can people apply it?"
mm,
Well, we have AI now in our technology system, so you could go in, let's say, and say, "I'm dealing with X investor right now, and
yeah,
I want to make it a good experience for him or her, and blah blah blah. And how do I communicate that?
yeah,
Because that will be different to you." You can ask the question in our AI, Gene, Gene, believe it or not, a DNA type name, and Gene will tell you what to do.
mm. It's funny you mentioned this because I was at a conference and one of a guy that I was talking to says he uses an AI tool before he has an investor call, before he has a broker call, and he quick does some research on them, finds out about them, and that way he can talk to them the way
Yeah,
their personality is. So
yeah,
if they're a very direct person, they're very numbers driven, analytical, like when he's on that phone call with that investor or that broker or whoever it is, he's going to be talking analytical. He's going to be talking numbers, those types of things. If that person is not that at all, well, then we don't want to focus on the numbers. We want to focus on the emotions and all that. So it's
right.
interesting you say that. And it's amazing that that's even a tool out there. We can get that information very quickly within seconds, and we know
Yeah,
a lot about that person.
yeah. And I think it's all about then how you lay the table or create the setting.
Yeah, you still have to do the work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You still got to at least go and ask the technology, how do I manage this person? And then you've got to do it, right?
Yep. Yep.
The alternative is you turn up and you apply your intuition, come as you are. But what you've got to realize is that you're probably only going to engage 25 to 35% of the people, and the
Yeah.
other 65% or 60% are in a black hole,
Yeah.
and you're never going to engage. And some will say, okay, my intuitive radar is pretty good and I'm okay with that, or I'm better at picking people than others. no one really is, and there's science to prove that.
Yeah, most people
But
think they
intuition is
are.
only 28% accurate, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like most people think they are, and then they find out that they're not.
And some of it is, if I call it, is arrogance or it's a
Yeah,
strength overplayed because they think they're a people person. Now, we've all got intuitive capabilities,
sure.
but why not have good information
Yeah.
to strengthen it up? So I would
Yeah.
say intuition plus data.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, how many times have you heard that? Oh man, I don't know. My intuition said they're a great person. I just can't believe that they did this. It's like, yeah, because you just use your intuition only. So definitely. Um,
Well,
what's something?
there's another dimension if I can share it,
Sure,
because I think this
absolutely.
is relevant to you and your business and the people that I think might be listening to this is, that if is you might be talking to the person that's got the checkbook, right? Um, and it may not be the person that's got the checkbook. It could be the front person too, right?
Yeah,
But let's say that in a lot of situations, it's the male is the breadwinner. Um, he's gone and earned money from being a CEO, executive, or as an inheritor. Now,
yeah,
it can be equally true for the female too. So I'm meaning to make gender biased, but the fact is one person that's fronting the
yep,
discussion
yep,
that you think you've got to connect with, but in actual fact, the decision making is with another person.
yeah,
And if the spouse is not comfortable, should she or he be involved, you lose the deal, but you don't know why. So they've both got to be brought on the journey, and the only way to
yeah,
do that is to know them both.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's hard to sometimes know that, but yeah, I mean, if the best thing I can do with an investor relationship is meet both the male and the female in that
Yeah,
relationship. If I can meet them both, and I've had it plenty of times where I've got a potential investor that's just not investing in deals, even though they seemingly were just excited about it and they're ready to
yeah,
go, and then I meet their wife, and all of a sudden, boom, they're investing, and it just every time that happens, it's like, wow, I should have got to know the other person instead of just focusing on the first person that talked to me.
right, right. I think you've got to bring and in a way that's better for the long term.
Yes,
Um, there's less likely to be, if something doesn't work out, less likely to be a splatter, as it were. Um,
sure.
yeah.
Um, what's something that holds people back in terms of what we're talking about?
In terms of making a decision.
Well, we're talking about just your DNA, your money behavior, right? And what's something that holds
Yeah.
people back in their
So,
business
so,
and in success?
so I would say this, because our business has been built, a lot of it, or at least half of it, but it's expanded out into other areas of business. But the key part being in the wealth management industry, where we've done a lot of work and, with wealth managers, their teams, but also helping the wealth manager go to their client. The problem is with the wealth manager. There has never been a problem with a client taking a profile.
Hmm.
So long as, now, the only time that problem comes is if you just write a letter to the client or an email saying, I've got this new trick in the bag. Um, please complete, your financial DNA here. No one's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But if introduced properly to them and that it's a key part of the service and of delivering the tailor-made suit and the better relationship, they all do it, right? But it's in the advisor's mind that they won't, right? And it will be the same with leaders of companies. Yeah, they're happy to get their employees to do something, but they're not prepared to do it themselves. And it's all about, are you prepared to be vulnerable?
Mm.
And if you're not ready or prepared to be vulnerable as the leader, whether that's as an advisor, leader of a business, promoter of a deal, whatever that head of a household, whatever that situation is, can't expect anybody else to do it. And I'm pretty clear with people, don't bother getting others to do it if you're not prepared to do this yourself and show your own profile report to others.
Hmm.
Like if you, let's say that you went and completed the exercise, Todd, you will see mine, and you can go to our website and see mine there,
Yeah.
and all of my team. So that's a key sort of value. But what we do know is the barrier is in a way the leader themselves, and not wanting they haven't gone far enough in their own personal journey where they're prepared to share with others themselves. And but the beauty of all this is if you can say to people, look, this is my strengths, this is what I bring to the table, and naturally there's some struggles, but this is how they're being dealt with, or everybody accepts that because no one's perfect.
Yeah.
No one would expect you to turn up as a architect of real estate deals, and necessarily you yourself be personally over every detail and
Right.
managing every rent statement and whatever else happens.
Well, you'd be concerned if I was, quite frankly.
Right. But they would want
Yeah.
to know, yeah, you've got someone who's tight with details as
Yeah.
a CFO or that kind of administrative person on your team,
Yeah.
right? And you've got good paperwork flows. Yeah, they would be worried. They should be worried if you're not there working out how to innovate value creation on a property, right?
Yep.
Or whatever the objective is. There's nothing to be ashamed of, right?
Right.
And I think that's the thing is that's the barrier. But being open about yourself leads others to be open about themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what you want.
Yeah.
So trust breeds trust is another very simple way of putting it.
Right. 100%.
Trust, if
What,
you don't trust yourself at an inner level, you can't expect others to trust you in a relationship.
how do you gain and foster that trust in yourself?
I think that it comes from the more that you know about yourself, how you react, where you've been successful, and you can see that where things haven't worked out, sticking to your lane, um, then having belief in yourself and belief that you're okay, and that at the end of the day that you love yourself
Hmm.
and you're prepared to be authentic with that, then then it's okay.
Yeah. Love that.
And that takes just a little bit of work, right? That doesn't show up.
It doesn't
Um,
show up right away.
no, not for anybody, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Some quicker than others, but um, it certainly takes time. I mean, I I thinking back on my journey, and I'm sure you have, similar, maybe different, but similar story. I mean, it's just there's a lot of discovery, a lot of reading, a lot of going to conferences, talking with people. Um,
I,
and it's a
yeah,
continual journey, by the way, too. Like it's not like it's done. Like you're always improving and getting better. Well,
I
you
think
should be.
I think if it's done, then that's sort of when you stop living,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
it should never be done. And you mentioned, I think, something that's really important, and then Todd, I think it's about having also being in an environment where you can talk to others about it. I think that
Yeah.
helps you build your confidence to know, you know what, there's others out there that are running a business like I am, and they're a dad, and they've got to pay the bills, school
Hmm.
fees and sharing that with others. Or, women probably naturally do some of that better than guys, but not all women do, but some do.
Yeah.
But I think having a support network of some sort, I don't think it matters how that is, whether it's in mastermind groups or, just informal discussion groups or group of friends that you have coffee with and lunch with and share the ideas or play golf with. But having that and opening up a bit helps make you more real.
Yeah. But I think the key to that, though, I mean, you have to have the right support network. It has to truly be a support network. I think what happens a lot is that it becomes not a support network. It becomes a complaining fest. It
Yep.
becomes an avenue of we're focusing on the negative stuff. And that I think that's very easy to create that environment. It's a lot takes a lot more work to create a truly supportful
Yeah.
network where people are working with each other and how to grow and to become better. And I think that's you have to be super intentional and make sure you're part of that group
Yeah.
versus maybe the other group that becomes cancerous eventually.
Yeah, that's right. And groups that start out positive, it can end up
You
negative
can.
if that's
Yeah.
not all managed properly. But you're dead right. It's got to come from a positive intent. Um, Everybody's got to be truly there for each other. So it's got to be reasonably equal in that sense. Otherwise, it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a part of a group that started out great. Started out with I mean, talking about how we're improving and growing and becoming better, and we're talking about the things we're doing in our business and helping each other out. And we'd have a problem, and everybody else would help out, right? Oh, here's what I think, and then it became a more of a complaining group. Like we just go there, we're talking about the negative things that are happening in our business, and that
Yeah.
was about it. And one person would say something negative, the other person would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm dealing with this," and so and then that's but it was never fixing those problems, never talking through how do we become better through these problems. It was always, I'm going to one up you and tell you about my problem, and it was like, this has got to end. It's done. This is
Yeah.
not
I
constructive.
mean, I've been in
Yeah, we all
groups,
probably have.
yeah, where some of that has gone on, and
Yeah.
and all the same people every month in their update are bringing the same thing to the table every week.
Mm,
And
that's a big one
okay, I
too.
know that's there. Do I need to keep hearing that? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What's a mistake that you've made in your, financial or leadership journey, and how can you give back to our listeners there?
I think that, interesting question. If I would say that there's been times that I have rushed into something,
Mm,
um, and not just from sort of a financial analysis perspective, but I think rushed into something and connected with a person that I thought was going to be helpful and had better values than they did because based on what I was seeing,
sure.
you find that they were a bit more rotten at the core underneath, and that I hadn't seen all of that coming. And I think a little bit of it is, I'm a very strong introvert, so very strongly introverted. So I've always seen that, but I've always recognized that people are a gateway to your future and, building relationships. But every now and again, you make a wrong pick. And now I'm in the human behavior business and I understand people's talents. And I would be saying that with all of those people, their talents, capabilities, capacities were bang on. But there was a character issue that I hadn't seen, right?
Sure.
Or that had emerged. And
Yeah.
and and that, I think that's where the failures have been, not so much on, okay, I missed the details
Yeah.
or it was the wrong place to be or the wrong thing.
Mm,
But that's still on me
yeah.
to have picked it and whether I needed to give, I said it at the start, whether I needed to give somebody or something more time. Um, I think going with it, I think my reflective nature is I've come to realize is one of my strengths because I give myself the time and ability to see what's going on and to think through it, how I'm going to respond, do some analysis, check my intuition. But also, a mistake could be that it might mean I'm not as visible as much as I should be at certain times. And I would say that is also something that, I have to continually work on.
Yeah. The reflective nature is something that I have to work on.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I'm like a bull in a china shop.
But there's
But
ways to make all those things work for you as well.
yeah,
So
for sure. Had this conversation earlier actually today. I want to know your thoughts on that. We were talking about conversations about money, like talking about money, being open about money, being open about, what you make and what you do and all that kind of stuff. Like how do you improve those types of conversations? Like first of all, why are they so difficult? I know why they're difficult. I guess I grew up, I don't know about you, but I grew up like, it was like, don't talk about money. Don't ask somebody how much they make. Don't talk about money. Like, you just don't do that. Right. But now I tend to like, that's what I do. I talk a lot about money. How can you improve those conversations and be open with people?
I think the first thing is being clear about what your own relationship with money is
Mm,
and why is money important to you? Um, what role's money going to play in your life, right? And coming with that, what's your purpose? And how are you going to measure your own success?
yeah.
And what's the definition of that? Because
I
I
think
think
that's super important.
yeah, the problem with it becomes that people feel judged by money or the money
Yeah.
conversation, and that how successful they are is being determined based on how
Yeah.
much money they have or what their business is turning over. And I've always found business turnover, the gross revenue sort of numbers are nonsense
No,
when
for sure.
I've seen people with $100 million turnovers making a loss,
Yeah.
um, and other people with 5 million doing pretty well, right?
Yep.
And I think, and there's so many situations in between all of that that it becomes judgmental, it becomes mentally stressful, and guess what? I say this to people: there's always someone who's got more than you.
Yeah. Always.
But are they as happy as you might be,
Right.
right? And are they as healthy as you are, right? And I think that's well, a problem. What are the state of their relationships? The
Yep.
quality of their life? What's the quality of their relationships with their kids? All those things are are, um, are pretty fundamental in all of this. And I think so. I look at, okay, for me, I'd be measuring my success more around what's the human impact I'm having.
Mm, like that.
And hopefully there's a revenue model behind it. And I don't think it
Yeah.
matters what business you're in. You can have a human impact type uh, goal. It might be for you. I want to improve the lives of 100,000 people in X segment in America
Yep.
by giving them sustainable housing, right?
Yep.
That's not then, and then you can say, well, I've helped 100,000 people live in a better home or however you want to put it,
Yeah.
rather than saying, gee, I've got a property portfolio of $1 billion, because you know what? Who really cares?
Yeah.
Now, is it important that you build up the number of assets in there? But you could be having a great business model, on $100 million of assets under management, with the right real estate property and doing really good things versus a person that's got a portfolio of 5 billion in commercial real estate and no one really gives a jack about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying either is wrong. I think it's just um, it's being clear within yourself about what money means, what you need to make, provide experiences for your family, um, what else do you want to do in your life, and but then on the other, how are you impacting others and helping others and piecing that together?
Yep.
And I think if you're clear about that, then you can have the conversations with others because it's then about not really a money discussion. It's not really about money. It's about your purpose,
It's
your
about more
human
than that.
impact,
Yeah.
what the experiences that you want to have in life, and then are you fundamentally happy and healthy?
Yeah. I love that. That's a great answer. Um, okay, I got a couple last questions here. What do what do you like to do to give back?
So, I've done a lot of giving back, for example, I used to be in the leadership of entrepreneurs organizations. So I was went from all the layers of leadership to the global board of that. So, in a sense, what I was doing in there and what really got me excited was while I was helping lead the organization, I was also helping a lot of other people address problems, issues, coming up with ideas, solutions. So, and I do that now with quite a lot of business owners, whether it's, just informally done. Um, in some cases, it's more formally. I enjoy all that. And then the other part is that I have a charity that I put together called Boys Without Fathers because I was a boy without a father, and that was very shaping on my life experience, particularly early on. And it's in my mind, it's teaching people not to be a victim, to come out and be the victor. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what life circumstances you started with, boy or girl,
yeah,
go out there and take it on the chin and go and do something with it.
love that.
And so that's where I spend a lot of other time, and that manifests itself through some other organizations I'm part of, but because those people are boys without fathers too, so I'm impacting what they do in their organization.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, all right, last question before I wrap up. What are your three pillars of wealth creation?
Well, I sort of alluded to them, but I'll summarize them. I
Yeah,
mean, there's the obvious of financial wealth, right?
yeah,
Um, but you're nothing without health, so that's an important pillar. And I
yeah,
think happiness is the other one.
yeah. You can have all the money in the world, and if you could still be miserable, right?
Yeah,
You can have financial, but I think that certainly the two more important ones are the happiness and the health. Without those two, what good is your money?
right. So that's why I piece those three
Yeah.
together. They're all important, and I think if you've got those three working okay, the thing that you've probably reduced the impact of in your life is stress.
Hmm.
Because if you
Yeah.
let stress in, all those other three are going to go down the gurgler.
Yeah, for sure. What excites you about the future?
Uh, I think technological change. I do believe if harnessed the right way, um, it can lead to abundance
Yeah,
for more people. I think it's going to unlock all sorts of business models, ideas, ways of living that can make humanity better, and that
agree.
does excite me. And in my own way, I want to be part of it, and that yeah. So I think that's um, exciting, but also, I've got two kids that are 14 and 12, and seeing how they're going to go into a world, in 4 and 6 years' time, maybe 10 really, once you take college and things into account, that's going to be very different, Todd, to
Vastly different.
where we're at today.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
and getting them ready for that within the context of their own personality and
yeah,
who they are as beings, that's going to be exciting, but it's also there's concerns.
yeah.
Not because of them as people, but just what are they going into?
Right, right. I agree. But it's exciting. I think the future is bright in my opinion. I know some people are scared of it, but I think you have to embrace what's happening, and I think there's a lot of exciting things.
Well, there's always an opportunity, isn't there?
Always
And I think
opportunities.
that's even behind after the dark cloud, there's going to be
Yeah,
sunlight, right?
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yep, just wait for that to come.
Hugh, really appreciate you joining us on the show. You have three books, several ebooks as well. As far as I understand, three hard copy books, and then like 4 or 5 ebooks. How can our listeners start connecting and finding those things? How can they connect with you as well?
Yeah, so the best place to connect with me is at dnacare@dnabehavior.com. Any email sent there, I will, which has got my name on it, will come to me. And on our website at dnabehavior.com is every resource under the sun about everything we've talked about today. You can get the books from there, or a couple of them you can go to Amazon and get them as well.
Who's the ideal person that's listening to this show that could benefit from going to your website, from connecting with you? Like who is that person?
I think that any person that wants to build a better relationship with money and themselves would benefit from going to our website.
Awesome.
And if they're a growth-minded leader, how do I build a more people-centric culture into my business, which I think is also tied to their relationship with money and wanting to be the best of themselves, then they should go to our website.
Great. Hugh, again, really appreciate you. Appreciate your time. A lot of value you've added today to this conversation. So, and to our listeners. So appreciate you. You have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you, Todd. It's been great.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. Say, I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.